From music theft to cheating to even getting someone fired, let's get into part 2 of the top 10 worst Jennifer Lopez moments she tried to get away with. Now, first up, we have to talk about her music theft. It's no secret that Jennifer Lopez has been accused of stealing or borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. Now, one of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better be getting some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect a J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked with Yves Gotti. But this song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you still hear her in the background vocals in Lopez's version. Moving on to the embarrassing feud with her makeup artist. Scott Barnes, who's worked for J-Lo for the last 20 years, has had to deal with so much of her crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, she essentially banished him after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Marc Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, and when asked about how J-Lo treated him, Scott said, "It was like I had the plague." Interesting enough, eventually she ended up giving him his old job back after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, "I went right back to work with her and we never spoke about it again, which is even weirder." Now, the funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remained on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize. Next, we have sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. "If I was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes, that's what they should have effing done," she said. Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the FNL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the woman for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about, though, is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform. But judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they even asked her to share the stage at all. Next, we have the cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on and off again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. Now, I mean, these two just got married after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago. But the timeline of their relationship is a huge red flag and include alleged cheating. So in July of 2022, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Gilgy along her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accusing J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Gilgy. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing about her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Now, this brings us to our next point, the Marc Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere, and it seems like fans love the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000 while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck around the same time. But the on-again off-again couple picked their romance back up when Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not JLo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, as she said, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Now, Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had a history, but he should have put more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place, so in a way they're both at fault. And now let's talk about the insensitive comments. So to give some background on why everyone felt that JLo was trashing belly dancing. A part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assumed represent the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But JLo apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this and said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wanted something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused as to why this was controversial, it's essentially because she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and that's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese, Syrian, Arab roots. Next up, we have avoiding the Bronx. This one train wreck of an ad campaign led to people openly mocking both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. Now, the central premise of the ad was that sometimes JLo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song, in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which has been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. Now, a press release at the time stated that she'd be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad, and that a body double stand-in and was used instead, calling it, quote, "It is such a breathtaking assemblage of hoary urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Next, we have the movie line interview. The infamous movie line interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined JLo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. Now, she basically decided to trash all other celebrities that were big at the time and try to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now, this is so ironic because JLo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for longer than JLo, so there was really no comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously, saying, "Tell me what she's been in, I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in." Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. Yikes. Moving on to the accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching a full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, JLo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and owned the radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-word she drops in her final verse. Now, the issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much that 10 years later in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest debuts of all time list. But rightfully rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term. Not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans, using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. For anyone to think or suggest that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me. Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by J. Rule himself, and he encouraged her to say it. And lastly, we need to talk about the awful reasons she had a maid fired. Now this one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Prey Doja was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of J-Lo and worked at the courage to knock on the star's hotel door to ask for an autograph and was promptly turned away. Prey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all of my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph, but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone." If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Maid in Manhattan. Now after receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I've heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful." So, how do you feel about Jennifer Lopez? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. I'm your host Emily, and we'll see you next time. Peace.